Well, good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is William Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Excuse me. Glad that you are here today. It is a beautiful day here in West Central Florida. And for those of you who asked, yes, we were able to get the air conditioning going, because the worst thing in the world that could have happened to somebody who lives where we live is that your AC dies this time of year. Um, it's funny. I saw some people who are on social media talking about their kids are going back to school next week, so everything's like a fall vibe. And I was driving to work yesterday on the interstate, and it was 100 degrees, hardly a fall vibe, but we're good here in the house, and I am thankful and I am blessed. So we are doing something because we always do something. We are simulcasting live on TikTok this morning. We've done that before. We tried to do a live on TikTok the other day in the car, and TikTok didn't like it. But anyway, so we are live on TikTok. So if you want to follow Fight Back Media on TikTok, if you still have TikTok, go ahead and do that. Listen, today's program is going to be a little different, because what I want to do is I want to start asking questions. And if you're watching on TikTok, I'm sorry, you can see how far I'm away from you. I can't get to you, and I'm actually recording my other show, so we can't have interactions. I'm sorry, kind of, kind of, sort of. But if you want to tap the screen, if you like it, that'll be great. In any case, I want to talk about the left and how the left continuously, I don't know what the word is. Word is they continue to to tell you you're something when they're actually doing it themselves, which I just think is amazing. And when it comes to things like voting, especially when it comes to climate change, when the purveyors of people who are pushing the climate change agenda tell you that you should drive a hybrid or you should drive an electric car, while they're flying around the country on the absolutely most environmentally unfriendly way possible, and that's private jets. If you look at the carbon that a private jet emits, when you and divide it by the number of people who are on that particular jet, it just doesn't work out. The math ain't mathing. Excuse me. And I think I'll have some water here. But they tell me that, because I have air conditioning and I live in relative comfort in my own home, that somehow I am destroying the environment. They don't match up. When they tell me that there are people who are racist, and I love the whole racist trope, because they get black people on rate the whole racist trope all the dang on time. All they have to do is go, Billy is racist. Oh my God. And black people just lose they snit. Just lose they snit immediately. Now they don't ask the next question. And I've told you here on this program for years, always ask the next question. Whatever the next question is. So if they tell you that Trump is racist, then the next question should be, how? And then we'll go by, because we have to, when we're dealing with human beings, a case by case basis. And if you can build a case for that, then you know what, I'm with you. But you can't build a case for it all the time. You can't build a case for systemic racism in 2024. You can't. The fact of the matter, the fact that we're talking about Kamala Harris is being the presumptive nominee for the Democrat Party for president, negates all those arguments, negates them, that the system is rigged in that sense. It negates all those arguments. The fact that Barack Obama has already been president for 8 years negates all those arguments. You might have been able to bring them in 1950, but you damn sure can't bring them in 2024. But the left continues to try to bring the very same arguments, and you have to, and you only have to wonder why. Um, the argument that Joe Biden used when he was talking to Charlemagne the God, the argument that, if you have trouble thinking, deciding between me and Trump, you're not black. What? Shut up. What? And as, quote, I'm going to use that word, as offensive as that is, and it is offensive. Uh, I think it's always for somebody to tell me what I am and what I'm not, especially if they don't know me. You get that? Especially if they don't know me. Uh, that they can tell me that I'm this or that. And because they have, painted the orange man racist, then that means that they can dehumanize you, that you don't matter. The truth about you is unimportant because I have already deemed you a racist. Really? And then at the very same time, flip it around, the very same time, at the same time, this is sort of this cognitive dissonance that somehow, if I don't vote for the black person or support the black person or the person they're portraying to me as black, then somehow I have a problem. Now, Kamala Harris knows, and her campaign knows, that her biggest problem is not with white women. It is not. It is not. It's not even with white men. I mean, not really. It's definitely not with black women. Kamala Harris's problem is with people like me. She is suffering because we don't believe her. Not all black men. Now, again, we have to talk in generalities because if we can't talk in generalities, we can't talk about anything, right? If we can't talk in generalities when we're talking about general subjects, we can't talk about anything. But as a group, Kamala Harris, because she is even focused on it. When she was in Georgia with the ultimate election denier, Stacey Abrams, who thinks she's still the governor of Georgia. Stop it, girl. You ain't no damn governor. And the idea is that Stacey Abrams was mad at black men because black men didn't. I mean, when all said and done, didn't support her. What she should have asked was why. What she should have asked is why. What Kamala Harris's people should be asking is why. I'll tell you why. Why for me? Because you haven't been trustworthy, and we don't think that you represent anybody but yourself. Player recognizes a player. We don't think that she represents anybody but herself. And we look at, and all we can do is look at history and go, when you were in California, who did you represent? Were you, excuse me, my nose, were you representing, were you down with the cause? Were you only down with the cause when it was to your benefit? Eventually people figure it out. Eventually folks figure it out, don't they? It's like, you know what, and I'm sorry because I still live in, I don't live in the ghetto, but I do live in the hood. I ain't gonna lie. What we're seeing on a national level, we see here on a local level all the time, especially when we're talking about black politicians. What we see is that we are supposed to follow along. We are supposed to get in line. We are supposed to spout the code. We are supposed to do all these things because if we do all these things and support the people that the left tells us to support and to be angry at the people that the left tells us to be angry with, then we will live a peaceable life. Except what you can't do is you can't, because you can't sleep at night. And when you actually see it, year after year, and for me, look at this, decade after decade, you just can't. So at some point you have to go, yeah, this ain't right. This ain't right. The problem is that they let a lot of people live under 4 years of Donald Trump. I am of the mind that a lot of this, a lot of things that happen when you are just in the right place at the right time. Economies, they dip and they rise. And if you catch one on the upswing, we tend to give the president credit for it, whether they deserve it or not. If you catch one on the downside, we tend to give the president blame for it, whether they deserve it or not. It's kind of how we do it. It's like coaching in sports. Yeah. If you're Bill Belichick, you get the credit for all those Super Bowls, but they had Tom Brady, right? Red Auerbach gets the credit for all those great Celtics teams, but they had the best players in the league at the time. Same thing with Phil Jackson, and on and on and on. So you have to dig a little deeper into all of that to find out economic policy and all those kind of things, policies for the Fed and all these kind of things. But when push comes to shove, 4 years under Donald Trump were better than 3.5 years under, but Joe Biden. And I'm of the mind that, now, I don't know if you are or not. You can answer in the comments. I'm of the mind that Kamala Harris is just to the left of Joe Biden and more easily influenced by the cabal, the group of people who are behind the scenes, who are obviously controlling the whole nine. Does anybody think that? I mean, did anybody think that when Joe Biden was elected president, that he was actually in charge of anything? Does anybody believe that? I don't. And I know I should be wearing a tinfoil hat or a cowboy hat on TikTok. But does anybody believe that? Anybody believe that Joe Biden was in charge? Anybody? That he got up every morning and went down there and got his papers at the Resolute desk and come up with plans, made phone calls and said, "Hey, I need you to do this." And do you think? Or do you think somebody else was behind the scenes making things happen, making phone calls, sending emails, getting on their BlackBerry? Oh, what did I say? BlackBerry? Sorry. Um, making stuff happen. I have a feeling that it's the latter, not the former, of what I just said. Don't you? Don't you? How about you on TikTok? A couple of taps if you think that there was somebody else always in the Biden administration making things happen, and it wasn't really ever Joe Biden. Hmm? Nobody? Okay, it's just me then. Um, and I just can't imagine that it would be any different with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has proven herself, especially in her time as vice president, as someone who is not a serious person. She's never seemed like she was a person who was going to take the bull by the horns and come up with anything that was the least bit useful to anybody anywhere, right? She just wasn't that person. She's just not that person. She's an opportunist, a chameleon. Say what you have to say, where you have to say it, to whomever you have to say it to. Come up with lines about all sorts of stuff and say them with as much conviction as you can say that, and it doesn't make any sense. we affectionately and call it word salad. I call it BS about that. But the idea that I should support her because we have a similar melon color is just racist. It's just out and out racist. Or that my wife should vote for her because both of them are sporting a vagina. It's just the most misogynist thing I've ever heard. How about you? Do you think that is okay? What if we had, I don't know, my buddy Jeremy? I don't even have a friend Jeremy, but if Jeremy came here and said, "Well, I'm just going to vote for Trump because he's a white man," some of y'all would lose y'all damn mind. I wouldn't because I don't really care why you vote for somebody. I think that's a dumbass reason. I think that is the dumbest of dumbass reasons. I'm just going to vote for him because he's a white fella. Because you're assuming, first of all, that the things that you hold common, that he's going to help you, that is going to help you somehow because he's a white dude and you're a white dude. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you all a story. It was 2008, probably November, a week or so after the election. Maybe it was the next day. Maybe it was that Wednesday. I was in a local grocery store. Shopping was a pleasure, and I'm at the counter, and I'm behind this woman. I'm holding my stuff. I'm getting ready to leave. I got my stuff. I'm holding it, and she turns to me. This random white woman. Just I don't know her. I'd never met her, and she said to me, "Well, you must be happy today." I was like, "Yeah, I'm happy most days." And she said, "Well, and I said, "What about?" And I said, "About what?" She said, "About the election." I was like, "Why?" "Well, Obama won." And I was like, I voted for the other guy. You should have seen the look on her face. Oh my God, I wish I'd been wearing a body cam. It was great. But the woman was destroyed. She was so sad because she had decided, because I was, at the time, I guess I was 48. I was 48-year-old man, black man, and she had decided, she had, thank you for following, she had decided in her brain that because Barack Obama and I share or seemingly share a skin tone, that I would automatically be cheering for Barack Obama. That I was on board automatically. And because of where I lived, what a terribly awful racist white woman this was. I hope I pray that she's gotten it together since then. But there isn't any way, there's no other way to say it. This was a racist white woman. She should have, if she would have got into a Ford F-150 pickup truck with a Confederate flag across the back and gun racks, and the bumper sticker that says "Hell no, we ain't forgetting," little Johnny Reb there, it couldn't have been any worse because her assumption exposed her racism. And it's the same thing with Kamala Harris. This whole idea, I see here on TikTok, and I see on all these apps that this new thing that is the saddest, most racist thing I've ever seen. White dudes for Harris. What the hell? When let me relate another story. Um, I tell my students, the thing is that when you get old, what you have is stories. You got great memories and family, and you got stories. But I was and then I forgot the damn story. But in any case, it's this whole idea that we are supposed to just go along, right? We're just supposed to be in that group because other people put you there. I didn't put myself there. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been going through. You don't know what angle I come at the situation. You don't know. You've just decided because of what I look like, this is what I must think. And then you are somehow disappointed or upset with me because I don't. Are you serious? Are you serious? We are simulcasting on as we record this on TikTok. So you folks on TikTok, I can't bring you in because where I have the camera is obviously I can't reach you. I'm sorry, but y'all like the glasses, right? Unfortunately, on if you were watching on if you were watching this live on TikTok, you can see that I've got some really cool filters, really cool glasses on. Um, these are cool too. These are from Walmart. But this entire idea, and we saw this, and we see it again and again. And unfortunately, we always see it with women candidates, and we always see it with candidates of color, COCs, candidates of color. We in 2008, a lot of us warned you. People like Jesse Lee Peterson came on my program and warned white folks that is that if Barack Obama gets elected, you will never be able to criticize him because the left will always say you're criticizing Barack Obama because he's black and you're a racist. We saw that play out for 8 years. Now it's the same thing with Kamala Harris. If you criticize Kamala Harris, you are a racist and you are a misogynist. Funny how Kamala Harris wasn't black when she got into the Senate. It's funny how Kamala Harris has never claimed to be African American or black like me. Never. Funny, isn't it? Only when it was advantageous. And the people pressing the buttons in the back, pulling the strings, said, nobody cares if she's Indian. That's not a big deal. We can't make hay out of that. We can't push people around. We can't because if she says she's Indian. We can only do that if we characterize her as a black woman, not even a POC, a person of color. And all person of color means somebody who isn't white, which is the most racist crap I've ever seen. However, the left not only embraced it, they promote it. It's some racist crap. And there isn't any way else to put it. When it became, when the left made it so you couldn't just be not a racist, you had to be anti-racist. What the hell does that mean? What the hell does that mean? I'm anti-racist. I'm against racism. Racism is bad. Not good enough. That means you're a closet racist. Yeah. Jesse Lee Peterson warned you. I might look for that audio because that was before we were doing video. That was well before TikTok. And that was, golly, that was before a lot of stuff that we do now. So it's only an audio. It's only an audio cast. I think I still have it, but it's true. But it's deadly true, and it bothers me that people are still falling for it. People are still falling for that whole thing. I do not know. And I do not know because it's the same game every time, and we see this in every community. And if they are not successful in promoting their progressive nonsense, then they blame white Republicans. even if there aren't any white Republicans where they are. We see this in black in black communities, Democrat-run black communities all over the country. We see this all the time. I saw it here where I live in 2008. Whenever there was the typical failure of Democrat-run cities, the enemy was at that point the Tea Party. The Tea Party is causing all this madness. And I would go, here? How is the Tea Party causing madness here? There's no Tea Party people on city council. There's no Tea Party people on county commission for here. The mayor's not part of the Tea Party. How? So in Brandon, 20 miles away, that Tea Party group is causing a problem here? How? Ask the next always ask the next question. When you hear some BS like that, ask them how. Ask them how. They will not be able to tell you because whatever they're saying isn't true. Speaking of that, I've always said this. I am incredibly, excuse me, I'm impressed by the ability of the left to just look at you and lie. And just lie. It's absolutely friggin' amazing. The sociopathic level of being able to lie is absolutely it's impressive to a degree. It's awful to a degree, but it's impressive. Continue continue to say things that they know it's not true, and they know they have no way of backing up. But they know if they say it long enough, they know if they say it with enough passion, if they can even cry a little bit, they'll affect people's emotions, and then they'll get buy-in. Not this time, folks. My friends, our battle cry should be not this time. Not this time. We're watching the news and we see COVID's on the rise again, and coronavirus. What we ought to say is not this time. Not again. No. We see in some places, like in I think Wisconsin, they want to bring back the election drop boxes, the unattended election drop boxes. Not this time. Nope. Sorry. Not this time. Because this time we finally convinced, and I'm going to take personal credit for it. I am going to take personal credit for it because all through the beginning of the election, I was saying, well, how are we going to prevent what happened in counting rooms and vote counting rooms all over the country? How are we going to keep an eye on that? How are we going to prevent that from happening? Well, finally, the GOP, who I never compliment. So those of you who think that I'm some sort of shill for the Republican Party, y'all don't know me very well, do you? You just don't know me very well. The idea is that I am impressed that someone there listened to me and said, we have to make sure that there is an integrity in the process, in the election process. Again, part of the problem is that if you've got ballot boxes sitting out on a street corner in the middle of the night, God knows what's happening there, right? That's got to stop, or we got to find some way to monitor that. Even if somebody's got to spend a few weeks with a video camera. That's what has to happen. I love it that on TikTok, I just got a little notice that says, learn more about US elections. Like the Chinese know a wit about US elections. And that just showed up there. I wasn't there until I mentioned, voting. So, and I imagine that if I keep mentioning COVID, it'll probably say something about COVID too. it's going to on YouTube for sure. So what I want you to do is I want you to start looking for, this is important, start looking for and start supporting and sharing, especially people who are supposed to be on the plantation who are not. Like me, who you think that are speaking calmly, logically, clearly about why I am not with her. And the whole idea that we're supposed to support people who look like us just because he look like us. I mentioned this in the last video. My friend Shirley Huzar hit me with a phrase that I've heard a number of times since then. So I guess she didn't make it up, but I said that was the first time I'd heard it. That all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Just because, again, if you're a woman and a woman is running, don't think that you have the same things, the same level of the same things in common. Don't think that your priorities are the same because they probably aren't. What I do know is that I've seen in my life just because somebody else looks like me doesn't mean that we have the same priorities. Oh, that story real quick before I go. I was working for Grassfire Nation in the 2012 election, and I was in Norfolk, Virginia. That's where the offices were. And they had put us up in the hotels in Virginia Beach. It was that winter there. It was cold and it was rainy. It was ugly, and I thought this be a nice place if it wasn't if the weather didn't suck. Anyway, so I'm leaving the hotel to go to the office. My first morning there, and the dude at the desk asked me if I had voted, and I said, "Oh man, yeah, I always vote. I always early vote. That way I can go do things. That way I can be here." I told him I was from Florida, and he said, "Oh, cool, man." So so he looked at me and said, "We got to vote. You know that?" And he said, "I said, yeah, man." He said, got to vote, baby. Touching the skin, making the assumption that because we were of similar skin color, he was a little darker than me. Um, not that that matters. But because we have similar skin colors, we have the same priorities. I would have broken his heart if I had told him, "Hey, listen, what I'm here to do is do some election coverage for a company that is a conservative right wing company. And it wasn't a Republican company. Uh, I, I I don't. I think most of the people who worked for Grassfire at the time were libertarians. Especially my direct supervisor was a libertarian. But they were definitely on the right, and they were definitely not supporting Barack Obama. And I was going to do, I don't know, 11 hours of internet television at the time. That's what I was there to do. I would have blown his mind. So I just smiled and said, "Hey, man, have a good day. I got to get out." And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people like me. In 2016, where my wife is from, is a smaller county in North Florida that had voted Democrat in presidential elections since forever. Democrat, and it's a Democrat-run county. In 2016, that county went for Trump. Democrat Party in that county just went ballistic, lost their minds. They were just like, does not compute, does not compute, does not compute. So instead of doing some introspection and going, what happened? Why did we why did we lose this county? What made this county that had been solidly blue and solidly Democrat for all these years suddenly decide to vote for somebody like frickin' Donald Trump? Did they ask that question? Not at all. What they did was they started attacking people, groups of people, black men, first of all, for not supporting Hillary Clinton. Well, that strategy is a strategy that will not work this time. It will not. Making the assumption that because I'm a black person that I'm going to support Kamala Harris, who frankly is Indian and Jamaican and not African American. She never had the same like Barack Obama. She never had the same experience in life as me ever. Although she tells that story on the debate how that little girl was me. When Joe Biden is crafting the bill that started mass incarceration. Anybody else? Anybody on TikTok old enough to remember that this mass incarceration thing that started in the mid '90s is because of Joe Biden, Senator Joe Biden. Anybody else old enough to remember that? Understand that? Anybody else? I know I am. Right? Correct? Any case, crazy. I'm old to remember that Kamala Harris was the AG in California who withheld DNA evidence of someone that might have cleared them of 4 murders, and that person sits on death row right now in California. Like I said, I don't know if the dude is guilty. I do not know. I might be making the assumption that he's not guilty, but withholding evidence and keeping DNA evidence out of the out of consideration. How down are you with the cause if you're doing that? So, black man sitting on death row, and you and your office do not allow the DNA evidence to be used, and you hid other evidence that might have freed an innocent man. Just in general, whether he's black or not, just in general, that's some BS behavior. Just in general. How can I support somebody like that? How can I support somebody like that to be in the highest office of the land? Yeah, Trump had some failed businesses. Happens. I'll take that over withholding DNA evidence that may have freed a man. Yes, failed businesses. Yes, the failed Trump University and all that stuff. Yeah, I will. I will take the mean tweets. I am a person who, like, if you've watched me for any length of time, I've said many times, golly, I wish there was somebody close enough to Trump to make him shut up. Because there's sometimes you just don't have to talk. Sometimes you don't have to react. Sometimes you just don't have to react. When somebody is mature, they know that sometimes it's just easier just not to say anything. If I was debating Kamala Harris, you know what? Most I would say very little because I know that she will tangle herself up in her own words eventually, and I won't have to do it. I wouldn't have to do it. I just say what you say. You said this. What do you think? We are less than 100 days away from the election. I cannot tell you how to vote, and I won't because that's just some BS technique. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you who to vote for. But I want you to consider more than skin tone, more than gender, because this is the election of a president is always important, and this is as important as any other election. So I try not to buy into the hysteria. This is the most important election in the history of our country. Every election, every presidential election is the most important election in the history of our country. Every single one. This well, this isn't any more important than any other, but it's important. And it's important that we, the electorate, start getting it right. It is important that we, the electorate, start getting it right. What should we be looking at? First and foremost, economic policy. Have you heard anything from the candidates about economic policy? Energy independence? Military stability? Stuff they're responsible for. Have you? Curbing government spending? Have you? No, and if you're on the left, don't get at me about Project 25, because if you scroll back through my videos, especially on TikTok, you know that I'm already teaching on Project 2025, and you can't tell me that there's some crazy thing that Project 2025 bans pineapple on pizza, although it should. Although it should. Don't come at me like that, because I know where Project 2025 comes from. I've got it on my computer right here. I can you just tell me the BS and tell me where to find it, and I'll scroll through it, and then you can find out that you're wrong. So, economic policy. What economic policies are the Harris people pushing, or are they? What about government spending have you heard from the Harris camp? I've heard some stuff from the Trump camp. Now, can they do some of this stuff, like getting rid of the Department of Education, getting rid of the EPA, changing the basic tax structure from this regressive tax system to something that's actually a lot more enlightening, maybe a flat or a fair tax, and getting rid of the income tax as it is? Is anybody making bold strokes? What are we hearing? This is the kind of stuff that you have to base your vote on. This is the kind of stuff that you have to base your vote on, not this other crap. You can't. It's important that the electorate get it together. All right, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. Thank you again for spending some time with me here at the Morning Report. We'll be on and off during the day. We're gonna get some shorts done today. Not shorts. Because I don't wear shorts anymore. My legs look too good for shorts. So we're not doing that anymore. So we're going to do some more shorts. We might actually try to do a couple of videos here on TikTok. And for those of you who came through on TikTok and gave me a little tap on the screen, or even followed my TikTok, thank you ever so much. I appreciate that. So we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye now.